Okay, class. Today we are going to talk about strings, integers, and floats. Okay, and before I do that, since we're going to be putting this into the user input part, I need to make sure that you understand a couple things about user input, and that includes print statements. So let me start by just saying print, and I'm just going to call for some sort of command. So we'll say enter your name. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, let's run that. It says enter your name. And notice there's a thing here, but there's actually nothing. It's not flashing. Well, now it is. I put my cursor on there so it flashes. But there's not actually anything happening. The computer program is done. It did what you said. It said to print it. Okay. I'm going to add a little space there because I'd like to have space here. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell the computer to use x equals, and we're going to tell it to use the input that we put in there. Okay, now notice it's blinking, waiting for me to type something in here so I can type my name. And now it's done. Because the computer program is done. It asked me what my name is, and I told it, and it says great. It doesn't even reply anything. So let's make the computer program reply. So let's make another print statement, and we'll say hello. And then we're going to say X. We're not going to put name because we don't know the name. So we're just going to put X because, again, that's going to be the user input. So whatever that they type, that's what it's going to put here. And then we're going to say, it is nice to meet you. Okay, now I made some mistakes on purpose here so that you can see. So let's say that Alan logs in and says, hello, Alan, it is nice to meet you. Okay, so there's a couple mistakes. So the mistake is that it did not put a space between the X, the name, and the it. You see there's no space there. It just combined it as one word. And that's because spaces have character length. So if you notice on the left, I actually included a space before I closed the string. You see, if I didn't do that, it would look even worse. Okay, it's all one thing. So when you're adding white space, which is these spaces right here, they don't do anything to the program. But if you want to add a space, you need to do it inside of the print statement. So, and I can also put one here. See, I put a space there, and now it works nice. Hello, comma, space, Alan, comma, it is nice to meet you. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now the other thing I wanted to talk about is what happens if I wanted to say it's nice to meet you. Okay, now when I run it, it doesn't work. And you can actually see if you look at the code why it's broken. In fact, the moment I typed that apostrophe, it broke. So I want you to pause the video and think about, one, how would you fix this? Or wait, first, one, what is going on with this? And two, how would you fix it? So to give you a second to think about it, pause the video. Okay, so what'd you come up with? That's right. It's closing the string. So this apostrophe is used to open and close strings. And since it's also used in English language to concatenate two words like it is, then we're actually going to need to do something else to make that happen. And the way you do that is you use a forward slash. This forward slash tells the computer to ignore the function of the apostrophe and instead just print the apostrophe. So include it as a string, but do not close it. That little will not print that backslash. So let's suck it up. Hello, Alan. It's nice to meet you. Yes, it works. Ta-da. Okay, so that's that part. Okay, so now we've dealt with the string portion. Okay, let's change this now instead of into. Oh, by the way, before I do, I wanted to talk about this. This could actually be, instead of using a variable like x, I can use name. And the reason that this still works the same, and by the way, it works with any name. See, the reason this still works is because I've changed the variables here and here. Actually, but this doesn't have to be a single letter. So variables can have lengths. You can even have capitals. So whatever this variable is, I can go like first name. This is, you'll see a lot. And then as long as I do it exactly the same whenever I want that variable, the computer doesn't care. See, even if you misspell it. So that's the first thing. So you'll see a lot of code, we don't use variables just X, Y, and Z. We use actual words as a variable. And that gives us an infinite number of variables we can create. And it also helps us keep track of what the variable means. So if I'm using a lot of variables throughout my program, if I name the variables what they stand for, like first name is equal to first name, that way I'll always remember if I need to call that variable, I just type in first name. Okay, and you'll also see a lot of people using uppercase letters within the thing just to make it stand out. Okay? Okay, now let's do a number. This is my favorite part. I love this part of programming. I don't know why. If you don't like this at all, what we're doing, then you might like some other stuff better. But for me, if you're enjoying this as much as I am, you should go into computer programming. Okay, so we'll do a lot of programming this year, but this is some of my favorite stuff. Okay, so let's do enter a number, and we'll let it be X again after I just explained. And now I'm going to type a different statement. I'll say the number you have chosen is, and then I'll add X. Okay, enter a number, X there. Okay. However, watch this. If I enter my name, it still works, and it's not a number. Okay, that's not a big deal. You might say, well, I like that. It works no matter what, even if they don't enter a number. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. But what if I wanted to do some math? The product of 5 times your number is I forgot to do that part. So let's say y, let's make another variable and make y equals 5 times x. And watch what happens here. So let's do 7. And the product of 5 times 7 is 77777. That's not true, you see. What's actually happening is this is a string. Even though I've told it to take a number, that was in my computer doesn't know that this is a number. So therefore it's just treating it like a string. So like any other string, like if I type my name, it's just going to print out that string 5 times. So it's literally going to write Alan, 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 Alan. Whatever I write, it's going to do that. So if you actually want it to be a number, you have to tell the computer explicitly that you are going to do it. So what you're going to do is you're going to type int for integer. This tells the computer that the input is going to be treated as an integer, meaning when I multiply, I want you to physically multiply like in math class. Okay, so now when I type in 5, well, actually this looks bad, but actually it's good. This basically did it, but the problem is we wanted to print it out here. And now this is a number, and it can't be printed like that. It says right here. So what you actually have to do, it even tells you the other command. So we use int to convert the input into an integer, but now when we want to display that result, we have to convert it back to a string. So everything's fine, we just have to put it back as a string. See, the number you have chosen is 5. The same thing happens on line 7. We want to display the result, we have to convert it back to a string. So str stands for string, int stands for integer. Okay, and now it all works nice. So the number you have chosen is 5. You have chooses. Nina's going to kill me if she sees that. Chosen. All right, there we go. Bam, 25. All right, look good? All right, now let's say we wanted to do a number that's not a whole number. So let's try 5.1. Oh man, it breaks again. And it says invalid literal for int, and that's true. 5.1 is not an integer. So this is where your knowledge of integers in math class comes to play. So what we use is floats. So what floats are basically in computer science, floats means decimals, okay? So instead of writing integer, you just type float. So this is the easiest fix of all. Bam, 5.1. So I could do 5.13. Whatever I do, it doesn't make a difference. The computer will handle it, it will multiply it, everything is fine, okay? I do want to point out something, why not just use float all the time? And there's, actually there, for most of the time, that's fine. But if I do use a number like 4, you can see it converts it to a decimal. So like if you don't want to be dealing with decimals all the time, because that doesn't look as good on certain aspects, so sometimes you would not want it to be treated as a decimal. You would actually want it to be treated as a whole number, or not a whole number, but an integer, because it can be negative. So that's basically the difference between that. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed that, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I don't even know why, but some people did, so I thought I'd just try to promote it. I've got like three subscribers now, so let's make that 4 by the end of the day. Later.